This pretty girl is Cora, and she thinks she's in charge of the world. In this video, I'm going to show you how I use petting to train a dog and to help a dog see us and respect us more as an authority figure, boost its self-esteem and confidence as well. So if Cora, I asked Cora's guardians if, and you can, well, one other thing, a little tip on petting. See how I touch her? She shudders a little bit. If you pet her, if your dog is nervous or anxious or fearful or aggressive or excited or any other unbalanced state of mind and you pet them, you will amplify that. It is the most common mistake people have with dogs. The dog's fearful, it's okay, relax. We're gonna make it worse. So if your dog is nervous or anxious or fearful or anything that's unbalanced, and you wanna be there to support, you can lay your hand on the dog. They do associate touch with affection. But as soon as you start petting them, you're gonna make it worse. So if every time she gets nervous, the guardians, like, I haven't asked them if they do, but most guardians do, they pet the dog. Maybe you make it 1/3 of a percentage point more nervous each time. Well, that probably happens like 10 times on a walk. So you might be 3, 6, 7% more nervous each walk. And then you multiply that times 4 walks a day, a week. I mean, it amplifies really quickly. Typically, when dogs have behavior problems that I get called in on, it's a progression. It starts months before I actually get the phone call and just progressively gets worse and worse. And this is one of the key reasons for it. All right, so lay your hands on your dog. Don't pet your dog if it's nervous or unbalanced in any way, shape, or form. One of the things that Cora does, though, is she likes to come up and nudge people for attention. I was sitting here talking. She actually stuck her head underneath my arm and almost started petting herself. And so sit. That's passive training. We're going to talk about that next. So if she comes up and nudges me, she's telling me what to do. That's a leadership mindset of telling someone what to do. If I pet her, then I validate, yes, you're in charge of me. When you tell me what to do, I do it. And over time, that confuses the dog and thinking that it is responsible for us. So when I call this petting with a purpose. So what I recommend you do is next time she comes up and nudges you, instead of petting her, give her a counter order. Tell her to sit. If she's already sitting, ask her to lay down. If she's already laying down, Cora, ask her to sit. And then I like to pet a dog under its chin. Now you can pet your dog anywhere you want. However, if you pat or reach over your dog's head, that creates a nose down orientation. Insecure dogs have their nose below the horizon. Confident dogs have their nose parallel to the ground or up. You probably notice if Cora steals your underwear or shoe or something like that, she runs around the house with her nose there, she feels really good about herself. Well, I want her to feel good for doing the things that we want. So if all things are equal, and I ask her to sit, I'm gonna pet her under her chin to facilitate that nose up orientation. However, if she sits like this and it's more convenient for me to pet her butt, I can scratch her butt too. Well, basically what I'm saying is when you tell the human what to do, nothing happens. Other than the human gives you a counter order. And if you do the counter order, the first time the human says it, you get a reward. After a while, what will happen is she'll start shifting from a leader mindset to a follower mindset, sit. And she'll start, she starts saying, I can't no longer tell the humans what to do. I have to ask them, no, not even ask, I have to pay for the privilege of their attention and their affection. And I'm paying for it through a currency of obedience. What will happen is Cora will start coming in front of you and sitting down and saying, look, I'm sitting to prepay for some attention. Can I get a scratch behind this ear? And you would scratch her behind the ear or wherever you want, at least once. And if you want to, you can pet her for 9 hours straight or as long as you want. Sit. That's passive training. We still haven't gotten to that part yet. And so what we're saying is, again, being obedient is a great way to get my attention. And like I said, she'll start prepaying for attention. Now, I had a client who actually had a dog that looked very similar to her. And Cora, let's come over here. We'll demonstrate. Come here. I do have treats over here for you. Oh, look at that. So this woman's, I'm explaining this to this woman. Sit. Come here, Cora. Sit. And the woman says, okay, well, I have a question for you. I understand if she nudges me that I should make her sit, but, I like, what if I just want to pet the dog? I'm going to ask you to stop petting your dog while we talk about it. She goes, okay, but I'm tactile. I like touching dogs. It makes me feel good. I shouldn't have to ask my dog before I pet it. You're petting your dog again. I'm sorry. That's all right. Just hold off on petting your dog till we get on with it. She goes, okay. But my doctor says because I have hypertension and high blood pressure, that petting the dog can actually help lower my blood pressure. You're petting your dog again 3 times in 15 seconds of me asking her not to and her intending not to pet her dog. She involuntarily reached over and pet her dog. We won't realize how often we do this. So I have a watchword for this. I call it paycheck. So if someone comes to the room and sees that I'm petting the dog and let's say that Cora was standing, they would say paycheck. Now if I say, no, She stood up earlier and you missed it, and I continued petting her, and David said it's allowed. I'm David, and I say it's allowed. Well, then I'm arguing with her, and she says, well, David's on one page, that person's on one page, I can be on my own page too. Sit. So if instead somebody comes and says paycheck to me, I say, Cora, down, down. And then actually I asked Cora to do whatever it was. You explain it after the fact. So it's a gentle reminder, just because we won't realize how often we pet without a purpose. Now, to answer her question, even if you do want to pet your dog, you should still ask your dog to sit before you pet it or lay down or do something. Now, one last thing is when I'm petting if you notice, I've said the word sit and only the word sit. Most of us talk way too much to our dogs. If she lay down, good girl. That's what most people do. Now, she was going to lay down anyways, but let's say she wasn't. Well, when she laid down, I used the term good girl, which does not mean lay down. It's a positive. It's a reinforcer. But she already knows that I'm pleased with her because I'm petting her. And I'm also talking to her. And dogs, one reinforcer is pretty much the same thing as having 2 or 3 that are all at the same time. So when she sits, you'll make more, she'll learn faster if you pet her and just say the word sit. Or even though she knows sit, it helps you reinforce it. When she lays down, pet her and say crash or chill or down or whatever your word is. So the more that you pet your dog with a purpose, it really accomplishes 3 things. And if you get in the habit of doing it, it'll take you guys about 2 months to get in the habit of doing it. But if you do, every time you pet your dog, it accomplishes these 3 things. First of all, it increases the dog's respect for you as an authority figure because I'm no longer sit, telling you what to do. I'm asking. And so that shows respect for you as an authority figure. Number 2, it boosts her self-esteem because she's not being given this attention. She is earning this affection through her actions. So she feels that boost of confidence. Number 3, we help her practice sitting. Even though she can sit, sitting in more difficult situations gets to be more difficult. I can sit great, but if there's a riot going out on 4th Street here and I'm sitting on that's going to be hard for me to sit there when a riot's going on. So if there's people knocking nearby, we're in a parking lot, people are stop petting me or whatever, it's going to be harder for her to understand and follow those. So the more that we pet her for the easiest situation, it'll make it easier for her to sit in the harder situation. And again, it doesn't always have to be sit, it can be also lay down and other things as well. All right, now throughout this video, I've said I'll talk about passive training in a minute, and this is the minute. So you can train your dog to do anything that they do on their own by simply recognizing it, crash. That's a perfect example of passive training. She wasn't looking at me. I didn't have a treat. I didn't give her a cue or a command. She just laid down on her own. Most of us actually create a situation where the dog doesn't want to obey us because by not obeying us, they keep a little authority. It's kind of like the little kid where you're like, can you eat your dinner? And the kid's like, no, because you want me to eat it. And by not eating it, I get mommy and daddy's attention. Same sort of thing happens for dogs. So then you get to the want to scenario. So what we do instead is when Cora comes on her own, pet her and say, come. When she lays down on her own volition, we pet her and say, down. When she sits, we pet her and say, sit. If she brings you a toy, name each individual toy. I thought those were a couple of Kongs that were cut off, but I see it's not Kongs, it's something else, but they kind of look like Kongs, the orange and red thing over there. But if she brings you a toy, name each individual toy. Now, all balls can be balls, all bones can be bones. But if you have a zebra, she brings you to, call it Stripey. She brings you a little elephant, call it Trump. Whatever these things are, come up with a nickname for all these things. And when she brings it to you, every time she brings you the elephant, Trump, and you pet her. Now you're putting in context, Trump means the little elephant. And the more vocabulary that we can create improves our dialogue and allows us to have more effective, more genuine communication. I taught my dog to stretch this way. Every time he'd stretch, I would pet him afterwards and say, stretch. After about a month and a half of doing this, I would say stretch. He would put his butt in the air, waggle his tail, stand up and yawn, and go, and he would do it 10 times in a row on command, as much as I commanded. So I do this like for my dog. Every time my dog takes a drink of water, I say cocktails. So people laugh, like I said, fun command words. I have 4 dogs. When they eat, each dog has its own unique command word to eat. Chow, grub, feast, and lasagna. Like I said, I like fun command words. So when the lasagna dog takes his first bite of food, he hears the word lasagna while there's food in his mouth. The context for him is lasagna means I eat. The other 3 dogs hear the word lasagna, there's no food in their mouth. So it doesn't mean the same thing to them. So coming up with these, and again, try to come up with fun command words, but the more that you pet with a purpose and reward desired actions and behaviors when the dog voluntarily offers them, the more the dog sees these are the things that my guardians really like. a question that I asked them about a half an hour ago off camera. What can your dog do to make you happy? And they said, just kind of sit next to us and cuddle with us. And I'm sure those things they do enjoy those things. But that's not something for the dog to actually do. But coming and sitting and prepaying for a sit, that boosts your self-esteem, sit, and all the rest of the things we talked about. Well, this is Cora, and these are some tips and tricks to help your dog learn to respect you through petting, which I like to call petting with a purpose and passive training.